Hello and welcome to the WrestlePurists podcast, episode number 5, I think we're on now. And today we're just going to fly through the news, and also we're going to do a quick review of Monday Night Raw, which saw the returns of Becky Lynch, Asuka, and Mustafa Ali. So there's quite a lot to get into. So, yeah, man, how are you today, Joe?
Feels weird being on at this time, you know. We talked about, we were scheduling this, and I couldn't do our intended later slot. We are both here in Great Britain, but this feels like we're doing a show at 9 a.m. for me. You know, this is weird. This is difficult for me, but I'm ready. I look exhausted. Yeah, it's 5 p.m., which feels like it should be a very normal time. Doesn't feel normal, but I'm here to talk about Raw, which this is the first time I've done that on a podcast since like the late 90s. So, you know, so I'm ready to go. I watched it. I have some notes. I don't know, I have notes, but I'm ready to talk about it. It was a pretty fun show. So we have a lot to get into. Twitter blew up about an hour ago. I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm glad to be back.
Oh, yes, of course it did. You know, someone said something pretty normal, and, you know, Twitter reacted. But, yeah, we'll get to that a bit later. So Raw opened up with celebrating 20 years of Randy Orton. It started with Riddle in the ring. Members of the Raw roster all surrounding the ring. Riddle says we're here to celebrate Randy Orton, points to a video package which is on the Titantron, and it's just kind of like, you know, pretty... WWE usually do a bit better with the video packages, I thought.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just a highlight. It's kind of like a highlight reel of Randy Orton's career. And yeah, then Riddle introduces Randy Orton, makes his way to the ring. Orton reminisces about his career, hopes fans aren't because he isn't going anywhere anytime soon. He talks about his previous opponent's friends. He put over Mick Foley pretty huge, to be fair. He then says he's having more fun now than he ever has, now that he's with Riddle. And yeah, he thanks the fans for sticking by him over the, you know, through the years, because as we all know, he has been, you know, been a bit of a wild boy back in the day.
Yeah. I agree with you on the video package, by the way. I do. I agree. I actually saw a lot of love for it. It was decent, but as someone that likes Randy, it didn't. Yeah, but as someone that's a fan of his, it didn't evoke any great like emotion, or I wasn't like fired up. Which maybe some would say that was fitting, but I don't. It was just fine, right? They showed some stuff, and like I don't know, maybe it was a music choice. I don't know. It was okay. It was solid. I agree with you. They usually do better. They'll do better on the 2035 DVD release or whatever we're on then. It won't be Blu-ray, then it'll be like a new thing. But yeah,
it's all coming.
Loads of chances.
It's all going to come.
They'll have chances to remedy. It'll be fun.
Yeah. So yeah, Riddle then says he's got a surprise for Randy Orton, which I think at that point everyone was kind of like, Obviously, I had no idea what it was going to be. It just ended up being Cody Rhodes, which popped me, to be honest. Cody Rhodes got his full entrance, you know. Comes to the ring, they have a little hug, nice to see. Obviously, it kind of goes back to their legacy days together. They obviously spent a lot of time together. When Cody first came into WWE, he did talk quite a bit about, you know, Randy Orton and how he can't wait to see Randy Orton again. And he would make little jokes about how he's heard Randy Orton's a family man now and he can't believe it because, like we just said, he was a bit of a wild boy back in the day. But yeah, before Rhodes can even say anything, Rollins jumps on the mic, tells Orton not to trust Rhodes because Rhodes is just here to steal his spotlight, etc., etc. In the event, Ezekiel cuts him off, of all people. Ezekiel cuts him off. And he introduces himself to Orton, congratulates him on 20 years, sort of thing, just kind of like a respectful, you know, introduction. And this was probably my favourite part of the whole segment now, because Kevin Owens just starts walking through the crowd, really fired up, telling everyone, like, you know, cut the shit. That's definitely Elias. No one can trust this guy. Can't believe it. Blah, blah, blah. Like I said, he got very fired up. Very, very fired up about it. Then the Usos cut him off. There was a lot of cutting off going on in this episode. It happened again later as well. The The Usos make their entrance and start to cut a promo on Randy Orton, saying their favourite Randy Orton moment is going to be when they take the Raw Tag Team titles off them at WrestleMania Backlash. Then Adam Pearce interrupts them, and he makes the 8-man tag match, which is going to be Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, the Usos versus RK Bro, Ezekiel, and Cody Rhodes. A brawl breaks out. Randy Orton gets a quick RKO on Kevin Owens, and the rest of the heels all back off, and that's the segment there.
Yes. This is familiar, right? This is a familiar play from the wrestling television playbook. Soon as much interruption starts happening, a lot of people roll their eyes. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Am I alone in saying that your enjoyment of this? I mean, I don't think I should be. I think it's pretty simple, actually. But like, the play is one thing, cliche as it may be. What made this kind of fun was that we mostly enjoyed the different involvements we got here. You mentioned Kevin Owens. He was great. I always enjoy the Usos on the mic. You and I will debate that on another day. Ezekiel, you get what you get. I had fun with it, and I think the real key is that they set up a match that I wanted to see. Now,
yeah, that's always key.
Obviously, it wasn't like they didn't book a dream match, but I'm a big fan of these kind of multi-man, kind of spectacle deals where you throw out one of those wacky graphics. The live crowd loves it. You can keep the action flowing. There's some star power. It wasn't like loaded, but there was some pretty decent star power. I think this was effective. Again, I understand people are tired of the execution, but like they got to a place both of us, I think, enjoyed. So I don't think you can argue with much. I enjoyed the opening segment.
Yeah, I thought it did what it needed to do, like you said. And like I said, there was certain moments in it that popped me. Like even Ezekiel, it was just kind of like, who's this guy? And that was what they were going for as well. Ezekiel also has a little bit of a new look. He's got the arm tassels now, which was
pop.
By
the way,
I'll explain those in a minute.
While we're going through this show, but I'm intrigued. Isn't it weird how like sincere Randy Orton is now in this point in his career? Like, when he was talking, you would never have realized the character he was, even like 6-7 years ago. Like, he comes across like a dad. It's so weird.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I think you and I, as fans of his, it's real fun for us. But like, he sounded like this is going to sound dumb, but I think anyone that watches their shows know what I mean. Like, he sounded like a human being.
Yeah.
And
he does most of the time now. He does most of the time. Like this version, because obviously Randy Orton's going to have freedom to kind of say whatever, etc. To present himself how he wants to present himself. Whenever he does his promos and stuff now, it always comes across pretty genuine. It's just kind of sounds like it's coming off the top of his head, to be honest. But in the best way, not in stuttering and doing all the ums and ahs that I do. But yeah, man.
Yeah, I agree. Like it's just weird because once upon a time the read on Randy as a promo was that he was like a robot. Like he had no emotion. And now he's just like a dude out there talking to you. And people have different memories of him. And we don't have to get started on that because that'll take us hours. But I think it's pretty cool that the live crowd seem pretty united in respect for him at this point. It doesn't seem like
love him. Yeah, they love him at the moment, and have for the past few months, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree.
He is genuinely, especially because WWE, like we always criticize kind of like their, the way they try and build baby faces, etc. They have struggled with it in recent years. Like I said, because of kind of like the freedom that they have with Randy Orton, the trust that they have in Randy Orton, I genuinely think he's one of the best baby faces in that company at the moment.
Yeah.
Like I said, he's like a dad. He's like, it's like Uncle Randy.
And you know what else?
Then obviously the relationship with Riddle as well. Like,
oh yeah. That's a different dynamic, and he has a comedy. But you know what's weird about Randy, and I've always believed this. He's one of those guys who has this problem of, I prefer he's in ring as a babyface, but he was always a better character as a heel. Because I think Randy's biggest flaw in the ring is trying to produce a compelling, creative, exciting heat segment as a heel. Because a lot of time, he'll just kind of, I've got about 10 minutes to fill. Let me make my way through it.
Yeah.
And as a babyface, he can't, he doesn't have to do that. He can make his comeback. The place loves his comeback. They always have. Now it's his hot tag, So I've always preferred him as babyface in ring. Now he has the character side. I agree with you. I think he's a great babyface for them.
Yeah, man. He you don't really put a step wrong, really. Like the promos always hit. The tag matches always hit. He knows what he's doing in a singles. They never go too long. And like you said, it's been a while now since I think I've seen a bad Randy Orton match, honestly, which is interesting because of it's been so up and down over the 20 years.
Yes.
It's good to see. This is probably his best babyface run he's done, in my opinion.
Probably, yeah. It's either this or his work opposite Christian back when they had
of course, that's the other.
That's the only other compare. I agree with you. I get he's divisive, and I do share the. If you were being really critical of him as a top tier candidate, he probably does lack the classics. Right? I don't think either of us are lying about that. I think we're aware of it, but he's someone I enjoy seeing on the wrestling show regularly, and that may sound like kind of throwaway praise, but brother, we both know there are really good wrestlers that we don't need to see on their wrestling television show all the time. I always enjoy Randy's presence, so I agree with you. He very seldom has bad matches, unless of course he is paired with a particular clown-like figure that he shared a few.
We'll quickly just blitz through that because since Randy Orton came back and was getting involved in the the title feud with McIntyre and stuff like that, he hasn't really missed. Other than that, that wasn't really his fault. You know what I mean? No. And God bless him, he tried his hardest with it. The mask, everything, and he'd still tried to cut the Randy Orton promos.
Yes,
God bless him. So next up was this happened a couple times. Kane was just backstage talking to the superstars. Bianca, this happened next with Bianca Belair before they cut to a break. You couldn't hear what they were saying. He was just Kane was just there chatting, man. Like he didn't really do anything.
This was spiteful. There's no reason to do this segment on TV. You don't need to do this. Bianca Belair did not need to be in a segment talking with Kane where we couldn't hear what they were saying.
Yeah, like
that's not
catching up. Like what?
Terrible.
Yeah. So when we came back from the break, it was Bianca Belair versus Sonya Deville for the Raw Women's Championship. You would only get a match like this in WWE. I think it would be fair to say. Yeah. So the match starts, and pretty quickly Bianca Belair wins by count out. And the reaction to this, I found quite. There weren't even no one was really booing it or anything. Like it was just, it was really weird. Really weird reaction. But before too long, Deville grabs a mic, says that the match will be restarted and there will be no countouts. The match restarts. Obviously, Deville using her, throwing her weight around, using a bit of authority. That's kind of the angle they're going for with her, which carried on after this match, but we'll get to it. Bianca starts to get the upper hand again. And before too long, Sonya Deville uses a chair, gets DQ'd. Rinse and repeat, they've done the same thing. Deville gets on the mic, says it's not a DQ, the match is going to be no DQs. Then she signals for Carmella and Queen Zelina to come down. Then we cut to a break, I think, at this point. And when we come back from the break, Bianca's she's getting outnumbered by the heels, etc., etc. But eventually, Bianca Belair overcomes them, gets it so it's 1-on-1. Sonya in the ring, hits her with the KOD. 1, 2, 3. It was.
I mean, where are you at on this? Where are you at on this kind of booking? Because, I know there's pushback, but at the same time, I kind of think it rules. She kind of just beat up 3 women, owned.
Yeah, if it would have been, when they rinse it too much, so it's like if they would have just done 4 minutes or something, Deville hits her with a chair. No DQ, then calls out Carmella. But it's like the count out one, then the DQ one, then she called him down, and it was just like. That's kind of my only critique of it. But from go off the back of your point, obviously it made Bianca look like Super Cena. You know what I mean? That was literally the kind of shit it was. It was like Super Cena shit, man. And obviously it made Bianca look great, which is obviously what was the purpose of it, I suppose. And it achieved what it needed to achieve. I just wish they would have done it. They could have tweaked it even a little bit, even keeping it within the WWE way.
I agree, and I also think, like, I don't know how into this Sonya being like in the middle is. This to me, you got to pick a lane. You know, like I'm cool with her being an authority figure, but if you want to just be on the roster, I think we all would happily have Sonya Deville just be a wrestler on the roster again. You know, so
yeah,
I think the middle ground hurts. Zelina and Carmella are what they are. The reason you do that with them here is because they're kind of just stooge heels, but that also limits its effectiveness because no one really cares. What do we think's happening at Backlash for Bianca? Are we just running this? What are we doing here? Do we know? Was there any word on this? There seem to be some people think they're going to do more with Sonya.
It seems like Sonya's. It seems like Sonya's now already starting to pick on Carmella and Queen Zelina, which is weird because they're heels. You know what I mean? They're heels. So obviously we'll just quickly get to that. Like all three women are arguing backstage. Right, it starts off with just Queen Zelina and Carmella arguing backstage. Then Sonya gets involved, starts arguing with them, and says that she's taking away their tag team title opportunity and gives them both a slap. So it was like, man, it was just like, it was weird, man. Because like I said, like, why is she getting heat on the heels?
I don't know. Leland mentions too that they had just split up. So,
but Bianca for WrestleMania Backlash. It doesn't really seem like they're setting anything up, unless obviously they continue this Sonya thing, which I'm not even 100% convinced they're going to do that because, you know, Sonya just threw everything at her and literally like cheated, all this and that. There was a little, I suppose it was quite probably the highlight of the match, to be honest, was the Bianca kick out from the DDT onto the chair. Yeah. I think there was at least a small portion of the crowd there quite worried at that point. You know, because even
that worked. Yeah, I agree.
That was probably the highlight of the match, to be honest. But
it feels kind of like they're set up for Sonya to like recruit, recruit like a new heel to go after Bianca, right? Kind of. Like now, you could do that in a couple. You could do it where she has a heater and she still wrestles, or you could have her. You could have someone kind of fill the corporate champ role. Like if you're doing that comparison, you know, I don't know what that looks like. I don't think that's a spot for either of the returns that you and I talked about yesterday or Sunday. That would have been an interesting spot, for example, and this isn't happening because they've already brought her up to SmackDown. Like Raquel Rodriguez, that would have been a spot for her, right? She comes in as like Sonya's here. You do something like that. That's what it feels like, but she's probably just going to do a rematch and go, just have a real match at the pay-per-view, which, I mean, I'm sure it'll be fine. I actually like Sonya, the wrestler. It's just she's not trying to be a great wrestler right now. She's very much playing a character, right? So it was fine, though.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they go with that because I think I speak for a lot of people where, we want to see Bianca out there killing it, and just in the best views that she can be, like treat her like the ace she deserves to be. It kind of feels like it's her time. So I hope they have got something good in store for it, especially when there's other good feuds going on Raw, because obviously we just went into Becky Lynch and Asuka, which we'll get to. But, when you have feature feuds that are that strong, I hate when the title slowly slips and feels secondary to that. AEW recently kind of had a little bit of a problem with that, with, MJF Punk. Then you've got Hangman trying to defend the title, and it's just like MJF Punk is like it's a storyline that's the biggest in wrestling, not just the biggest in that company. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a real heavyweight.
And I mean this with all respect to Sonya, but if you look at like the Raw women's division on paper, there should be better, title programs than Sonya. And that's not even a knock. Like she's just been, she hasn't been active. But if you look at the lineup right now, that division's kind of loaded. Like it doesn't always feel like it. Last night it kind of did.
Yeah.
But there's definitely the pieces for this to be like an all-time great title reign. Now, whether it will be or not, you and I will discuss over the coming weeks and months. But the pieces are in play, right? You could do it. So, as you said, they got Asuka back. So there's a lot kind of to be excited about. I hope this isn't a prolonged program. Even if they get to Backlash, that should be the absolute end of it. So there you go.
I honestly hope it's done now, to be honest.
Yeah.
And obviously they give us something else that's really good to do. But Yeah, like I said, Sonya's already through pretty much everything she can. And like, what else is she gonna do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, but
obviously
you
you've
said.
kind of
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, you're good.
Obviously she can't just have a straight up wrestling match with her now. But WWE that's probably
She
just me
absolutely
being
could.
me. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say it's just WWE could just do
Yeah.
that. You know what I mean?
No.
And probably have a win or some bullshit. But
She absolutely could just have a real match with her, and they just don't explain how, why. That could absolutely happen. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. The problem you laid out is correct, though. That you don't want her to slide in terms of importance. You know, on Sunday, you kind of convinced me, swayed me that you could bring Alexa as a heel. I don't think you bring her back with Sonya Deville. Do you? I mean, I wouldn't do that. Feels like you need to. If you're going to do it, give Sonya a heel that's not a great promo. So like I don't know who the best fit for the role is. There's a lot of women in NXT that I think you and I could easily convince ourselves could be called up. For example, an Io Shirai being called up and being like a very spiteful, vicious villain. Obviously, Bianca Belair will be fucking awesome, but whether I think they're going to do that or not, no, I think you're going to get more Sonya Deville. So,
well, Kylie Ray's just had a new name trademark for her, I believe.
There you go.
So maybe.
Yeah.
But maybe that's just part of the whole, get rid of your first name changes. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's just all bullshit, to be honest. But speaking of bullshit, the next thing in the show was an Edge and Damian Priest promo.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, friends know exactly how I feel about all this Edge stuff.
Yeah,
I don't really want it.
Yeah.
I don't really, I'm not, this podcast, especially, like, it's not going to be one of those things where, like, I'll go off on an angry rant trying to get, like, hit pieces and trying to get views and clips of me and stuff. Like, I'm not going to do that, but, I'm not going to dive too much into this Edge thing. But what I will say it's hot fucking garbage.
Oh, wow.
That is all I have to say about it. And that's I'll leave it at that. And we'll come back to it later. But that is my opinion on the whole, what's it called, Judgment Day group, Edge change of character. And I like Edge, and that probably frustrates me even more because he's doing this. But like I said, I could get fired up.
Folks, I need you to think about the fact that is the edited, tame version of Monty's take on this Edge fact. Imagine what he sends messages saying about this act, That was he considered what he was going to say, and that was where he went with it. Just imagine. I mean, it's bad, man. What are you going to do, To me, my problem
Some people like it, and I won't, I won't judge you for that. We all like different things. Like, I'd pop for Omos. You know what I mean? I'll pop for Omos. Like, who am I? Do I'm just an idiot. So, everyone likes their own different things. But for me, personally, and my enjoyment, like, nah, bro. Nah.
Yeah, I agree. It is worth saying. You're right, because this just isn't really our bag. This is it, Really.
Oh.
I mean, honestly, I'll be completely fair, because Duke says it's House of Whack, and that is very funny. But I don't even enjoy that presentation, and I love the wrestlers in that act, So I think there is something to be said for. I just don't really. This isn't my thing. It wouldn't be my thing if it was good. Honestly, it doesn't seem very good. But even still, it's worth noting that there are some, stylistic preferences that hinder me here. But nonetheless, enough about the Edge.
Yeah, I think we'll just leave it there. And I'll just quickly add, actually.
Oh, no.
You see, I don't actually mind, like, law that much if it's done pretty well. Like, I don't mind the House of Black shit. I honestly don't really mind it because it's just Malachi,
Yeah.
Malachi is kind of, he's different, So, I don't mind him. But with his Edge thing, it's just, when it's done bad, it's obviously 100 times worse than most other stuff done bad. So,
yeah,
I'm not always 100% against law. It pops me, just funny sometimes. But, anyway.
I can't. Look, man, I want to just ignore it, but it's hanging over me. I can't sleep at night knowing that they're going to put Rhea in this faction. It's really tough, man.
It's
the idea of taking like one of the few people on the show that could possibly register as cool and like putting her in this group feels like something you should be put away for. It really genuinely upsets me.
They're gonna get her on the promos and everything, man.
She's gonna be bad at it too. That's the worst part about it. Is like she's not gonna be good at it, and then like people on Twitter are gonna be like, actually, was she any good to begin with? And I'm gonna like text you at 3 a.m. It's gonna be awful, man. It's gonna be bad for our friendship. It's gonna be bad for the community. It's gonna be toxic.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about Raw.
Like I said, I don't want to talk about it too much. So even here's the thing. This isn't really too much about it. It's just kind of like anything really. Like it takes me out that much that when I'm trying to do the results and notes, I can't summarize the promo because I'm that out of it, and my eyes are just rolling in the back of my head at 1,000,000 miles per hour. But yeah, man, like I don't even know what he said, bro. Like I'm sure it wasn't that hard. I'm sure it wasn't even that hard to understand. I'm sure it weren't even riddles or anything like he's done in the past. But literally, as soon as I see the presentation, it's just
he did cheap heat, and that made it even funnier. It was bad. Let's move on for our own sake.
Right. So Veer defeated Sam Smothers. Terrible booking decision, in my opinion.
Fair.
Sam Smothers should have, should have got a bit more in.
That kid's got something, huh? He's got something. I agree.
Charisma off the charts.
Where are we at on Veer? Are we gonna? I want to make a decision because we're gonna do this every week. Do we think Veer is good or do you want to pretend? Up to you. I don't mind.
I haven't seen anything of him, bro. Like he goes out and he just clubs people. Then he gets them in that clutch, and that's it. Like, I mean,
so he's good, right?
He pulls good faces. Like there's good, not really much to assess. You know what I'm saying? But from what I've seen, I haven't seen anything bad. So,
I just think as a team we should put our best foot forward. Like it feels like we should kind of lead the way on him being awesome. Like if he really sucks, we just won't talk about it. What if we just like okay, here's what we're gonna do, right?
Go on.
Set up the segment and just say Veer beat Sam Smothers, and I'll go right and where we need to go. Okay, just set me up, and then I'll show the folks where we're going to go with this. Okay, set this up. Go ahead.
The next on Raw, Veer defeated Sam Smothers.
Let me tell you something, and you know me, I've been studying tape for years. The improvement is palpable. The intensity, the aggression, the execution on offense, the slight selling we got, the facial expressions, the camera awareness, the presence, the charisma, just magnetic in every which way. And you know me, I wasn't. And here's the thing, folks, because this is our first time talking about Raw here. Monty knows I text him live reports of Raw every week. I wasn't sold initially. On one of those first vignettes, I actually didn't know how good the facial expressions were. But I saw this and I said, now here you're talking about a guy who has studied the game, knows it inside and out, and he's got a place in this business, to be clear. So I'm really excited. I want to kind of make my stance clear right now. I'm pretty sure Veer will be the world champion by the end of the year.
Wow. Seconded. All jokes aside, it will be interesting to see what they do with him. Because when someone comes in and just starts squashing people, and that's literally all they're trying to achieve with his segments, who knows? Like he could genuinely be like a world title challenger, you even sarcastically said. It's like
he seems fine, right? He's got a good look. Obviously that was a
WWE.
Oof. I don't know, man.
Wouldn't surprise you, man. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't surprise you if they just, a couple more months of squashes and who attacks the babyface champion from behind? Oh, actually, yeah.
These pushes are. You're right. They are always interesting because you never know.
You never know.
You never know what the actual intention is, right? Like, for all we know, you're right, and they intend for him to be a player. It could equally be the case that no one even cares. They're just putting him out there. You don't know.
Yeah, sometimes they just fizzle out and they don't do anything. It's crazy.
It'll be interesting.
So next up was backstage with Bobby Lashley. He was warming up for his arm wrestling match tonight. He was asked why he was warming up the way he was, which popped me. And he said he was warming up because he's always going to stay ready because he don't trust Omos and MVP just in case to try something after. Next was said arm wrestling challenge.
Yes.
This is This is the thing with. Listen, if you want to see your AEW shows of 3-4 star matches on one card and 20-minute matches on every show and this and that, fair play to you. I support you in that, but this is true sports entertainment, my friend. Omos makes his entrance with MVP. MVP starts to cut a promo, berating Bobby Lashley, puts Omos over huge, says that Bobby at one point, he said Bobby Lashley is almighty enough to defeat any man, but Omos isn't a man. And it's like, oh man. Okay. Right. Bobby Lashley, Omos, they have an arm wrestling match. And MVP does this just wonderful commentary throughout it. He's just oh man. He is something, isn't he, man?
He's awesome.
I hope he keeps a spot for as long as he wants one, to be honest.
He should, man. He's so good. He's great at this. Yeah. This ruled.
Bobby Lashley.
Go ahead.
I'll finish off summarising what happened. Bobby Lashley wins. Omos attacks him attacks him with the arm wrestling table. And whilst MVP's commentating the whole thing. And it was heat. But it was a fun way to get there, I guess.
So, as you know, I was like skipping through this program. And I just so happened to skip in a sweet spot where like they were in the entrance. I came back and the music had stopped. And that sound, the crowd was going wild. And I was like, oh my God, like wrestling's back. I was so excited. And I actually bought it as like in real sound. And then I logged on Twitter about 2 hours ago and there was like I think it was Botchamania tweeted like, listen to this fake crowd noise. I was like, oh, that's what it was. I was so upset, man. Course. I really bought it because I missed the lead-in. But I'm with you. This stuff pops me. I know it's not like good in the kind of traditional sense, but like it's Bob Lashley like beating Omos in an arm wrestling match, and they're doing like facials and like he just rules, man. Like Bob as a babyface, he's like if I ask you to tell me why he's a babyface, you'd be like, 'cause he's fucking awesome. Like he's Bob. Like he just comes out and just whacks guys and spears them and shit. And like I resent the notion that he needs to be likable or charming. He just needs to be Bob, right? Just go out there and fucking hit.
Big meathead, like
I cheer.
That's what he is. He's just a big meathead, like. Yeah.
Continuing this feud is hilarious, but the MVP stuff and this is like. It's like 90s WWF enough for me to pop for it and admire it.
Yeah.
Actually, honestly, it's kind of 80s WWF, which is even better. I get why people hate it, but like, I find it to be fun. It breaks things up. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's the thing as well. Like on a 3-hour show, you're always going to get a bit of bullshit on there. Mm-hmm. This is the sort of bullshit that I want to see. So yeah, man, like it's just fun. Like, it's nothing to take too seriously. They're trying to establish Omos as a real player on TV, etc. Not sure how that's going to go. It's quite interesting to see how this will all play out. Yeah. So who knows? Because in a year's time, he could be released or he could be world champion. You don't know. It's not what we were saying with Veer. You just don't know what they're going to do, especially with
MVP. Is a good shot for him to like. If he doesn't get over big with MVP, it's probably, it's not ideal. MVP's really great at that role. Like, he's very selfless and he knows what he's doing. I actually think his segments have been better immediately since he had MVP by his side. Factual. I think his segments have been better immediately since he got MVP. So, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what the rematch looks like when these two wrestle. I believe they're wrestling at Backlash, right? So, I mean, even if it's bad, you and I will say it was good, but we'll see how good it actually is.
It's going to be memorable.
3-star floor, brother,
Yeah. Okay, so next was a bunch of R-Truth, Dana Brooke and Reggie, Tamina and Akira Tozawa stuff. So apparently R-Truth is a marriage counsellor now, certified, etc., etc. This makes a mixed tag match for later. Tamina and Akira Tozawa, they defeated Dana Brooke and Reggie. Tozawa pinned Reggie after hitting a huge senton. I mean, these segments are what they are, man. It's like what I just said. Like, it's just on a 3-hour show, you're gonna get some bullshit, and this was some of it, and this doesn't pop me like the Omos Lashley stuff. I think it's fair to say, and it was a bit weird in terms of structure, putting these two things one after another.
Yeah, it was a little bit weird. Yeah,
yeah. But yeah, man, it was what it was. Like, there probably isn't too much to say about it. You know, it's been the same shit. Yeah, it's been the same shit for months now. It just is what it is.
When did this belt come to be? When did they announce this belt? I mean, Summer 2019. Right?
That sounds right, but I've no idea, to be honest. It wasn't exactly a big memorable moment for me.
No. Well, all good things come to an end, and so do all bad things, And I'm all for variety show, but I think this pushes the limits a little bit at times. Some of the stuff I've said. Now, I haven't seen all of it. I know you were very excited at one point about one of the segments. You texted all caps. You were very excited. Yeah,
it's when Reggie first turned on Dana Brooke. He's done it like 4 times now. You know what I mean?
It's that kind of rules. I've changed my mind. This is good. Carry on.
Yeah, man. It is what it is. The thing is, every time there's one of these segments on, there'll be like something that R-Truth, someone will do that will pop here. Like someone just said in the chat, R-Truth counting his own pin ruled. Like, it's just, it's just stupid shit. So
bless R-Truth, man. He's a treasure. Bless him.
It's been around forever, So it's just nice to see him still getting in there on TV. God bless. Mm-hmm. So next was the Becky Lynch in-ring promo, which was, she was sad that she didn't win. No, she's sad that she lost the title. Didn't know how to feel without it. Didn't want to show her face. Blah blah blah. Very deflated. Very, what's the word? She was very
dramatic.
Yeah, that's
irritating.
It was something. It was something.
No, she's a good promo. This is not my favorite version of Becky Lynch. That's the best way I could. I know what she's going for.
Yes.
I appreciate the very clear attempt she made at kind of making Asuka feel like a killer again, which was cool. It's just too much for me. I can't, the facial expression stuff I find to be like, it's cartoonish, which I think is what she's going for. I think she's self-aware enough to know that. But like for me, I kind of just roll my eyes at it and switch off. It's a shame, but is what it is.
Yeah, it's definitely, like I said, I struggle with it a lot because, we all know Becky Lynch is a good promo, but this current character is just, even though it's supposed to be too much, like, it is also actually, in actuality, it is too much. Like, so yeah, we'll see where it goes. I think it was Bob on the show that he did with you on the Late Night Grin channel yesterday said something about it could be the start of a spiral for her because, it is a good chance that Asuka does beat her in her first feud back. Then, Becky Lynch could kind of start losing her mind, basically. And next thing you know, Becky Lynch enters herself into the Money in the Bank. She could win that. And that's kind of like what she's, that could kind of be her arc for the next few months. Yeah. Also, I don't think that's the worst idea ever. I think if Becky Lynch does go on a losing streak, a lot of people will probably cry about it. But, in a bigger picture sense, that storyline wouldn't be the worst idea, I don't think.
No, I agree. I also, it's worth saying because we both focused on Becky because that was the bulk of the segment. But like, sheer charisma, brother. Asuka is, wasn't it fun? Just to have her back out there. I know we were going to talk about it, but like, it was immediately, there was a different presence and a different energy in the building. And I say that to say that part of why Becky's sparring is a good idea is you don't want to beat Asuka right out of the gate, right? Like, that just seems wasteful. And I'm not even, at this point in her career, I get it. I get not building like a whole division around her, but like, you don't bring her back and just beat her. Like, this just,
definitely not.
You want to give her some.
She's too good. It would be such a waste. Like you said,
and the audience loves her. They love her.
She don't even cut promos in English, and people pop from like because she just got that much charisma. Like she demands the pop. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
can't help it, you know what I mean? She'll do a little dance, she pulls great, you know, like she's
Yeah.
she's just great. She's just great. She's so easy to love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, man, she's great. So obviously, you know, Becky Lynch is going off saying that she's going to win the belt back, and she starts listing off the names of the women that won't be able to stop her. And of course, you know, as she's listing off the name, Asuka's music hits. She comes, crowd pops huge for her. She comes down the ramp, hits the ring, gets on the ropes, does those little, you know, does a little dances, does a little stuff. Everyone loves it. Everyone's happy to see her. It's just nice to see. You know what I mean? People are excited that this is a feud that she's going to be in, because obviously you can tell as soon as she makes her entrance. Becky Lynch looks, quite frankly, very depressed about seeing Asuka come back. I thought as soon as Asuka's music hit, Becky Lynch was so much better in this segment.
Yeah.
Because like I said, the reaction to Asuka, and obviously the kind of like the little back and forth that they had. Yeah, it's like I said, as soon as Asuka came into the frame, I did actually quite enjoy the segment. It was just kind of the Lynch promo before. It was just like, it was tough.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
But yeah, man.
It's great to have Asuka back.
Perfect.
Obviously, she's, you know, everyone knows how great she is. We don't have to explain that. But, like, it was evident when she came out. You kind of got a grasp on how long it had been. Like, you know, and she looked. This sounds dumb because she's so animated anyway, but she looks so happy. Did you not get the sense that she was really delighted to be back?
Yeah, cool, genuinely.
Like, and genuinely. You know, her story. Like, obviously, it was out there, her injury, but it kind of. I'd imagine it was frustrating for her hardcore fans. It kind of went slightly under the radar, right? Like, she was out for a long time without any kind of follow-up. I know there was definitely some reporting on it, but it wasn't super close to anything. So, good to have her back. I'm sure the feud will be good. Hopefully, the segments can kind of bottle that energy of the second half of this, as you referenced. I think we both know the matches will be really good, but I have some slight concerns about segments, but the matches will be great as they always are.
Yeah, I think they will. Definitely. Asuka doesn't really miss that often.
No.
Neither does Becky, to be honest. I know that a lot of people think she can be quite hit and miss, but you know, two people of that caliber, you know, it'd be tough for them to mess that up. So next thing in the show was Miz TV with Theory. This is where Mustafa Ali makes his return to WWE TV in a pretty fascinating story, which I'm sure, you know, I think we spoke about it on Sunday. You know, it's been well spoken about. So Miz says we're here to celebrate Randy Orton, but also somebody else. He then introduces Theory, who makes his entrance. Miz says that the US title hasn't had prestige in 12 years, and that just happened to be when he had it. But Theory, he can potentially bring some prestige back to the belt, which they all get fired up about. Theory then puts himself over, saying he's Vince McMahon's best investment, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, Miz tells him that everyone's going to be jealous of him, and people have to earn the shot at him, and people can't just come out and demand a shot. At that point, it was pretty obvious someone was going to come out and demand a shot. Yeah, he did. Basically, Mustafa Ali makes his entrance, gets a pretty nice pop. Wasn't quite as big as the Asuka one, but he still got a very nice pop, and people did definitely miss him. But you know, obviously, Asuka's a former world champion, etc., etc., etc. So to WWE fans, obviously, you know, regardless of what you think.
Yeah.
And so before Ali even gets to speak, Miz and Fury start getting those questionable digs in at him. Jokes like, "You still work here? Didn't you pick up your ball and go home?" All that sort of stuff. Kind of had a weird feeling to it, because obviously, yeah, Fury. Mustafa Ali then challenges Fury for a United States Championship match, which he declines. Then we get a Fury sets up Miz versus Mustafa Ali for later on tonight. What happens next? And yeah, it was a weird segment. Like I said, when they started throwing those digs around, like of course they were going to say something, but it's just like, I think our friend Hollywood Hangman Adam Pearce, he said something like, even before the segment happened, he was like, tonight It's like, with Mustafa Ali on Miss TV tonight, because it was actually, I think it was reported by Fightful Select before the show went on, but that was going to be in the plans. He was like, expect to see, like, you know, the Miz make all the comments that the old boys up top are, you know, kind of want to say and get off their chest, and you know,
it was.
It's weird. It's weird when they do stuff like that.
I'm hesitant on this because I'm happy he's back, and we talked about it Sunday, and like we both had a positive reaction to the news. I was a little bit underwhelmed by like his presentation. He felt like he just immediately slotted in as like another middle baby face.
Mm-hmm.
And like if you're gonna confront that he wanted to leave, it almost feels like his character should be like that should be part of his like he should be, you know, saying stuff that makes the crowd kind of go, oh shit. Instead he said stuff like, you know, you just got biceps and no balls. And it's like, well, you know. I mean, I just to me, if you're gonna make it part of the story that he wanted to leave and that's where he's been, then make him that character who kind of goes full like voice of the voiceless and, you know, go for it, swing for the fences. This felt like let's get our digs in on him, but let's make it, you know, let's just make him just another baby face. Even the match did that, honestly. And we'll get, you know, I know that's next, but like, Miz took most of the match. He won, which is cool and more than I feared they'd give him. But like, to me, I guess what I'm saying is I'm happy to see him back, but he felt immediately slotted at a certain level of being like just a happy-go-lucky baby face. And that's a weird vibe when you're actively confronting the fact that you wanted to quit. It's weird. It's just a weird.
He's back where you said. Like he's back. It feels like obviously it remains to be seen. Like he could just go ahead and beat Theory for the United States Championship and do a weekly challenge or something. But you know, that's doubtful.
Yeah,
it does feel like he has slotted in pretty much the exact same position, other than the fact that he's a face now.
Yeah,
it's really weird, man. Because if you don't, because it just feels like we'll end up back to square one if they do go down this route of him, where he's basically on the same position on the card, but just a face now. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. I do hope they do have some stuff, you know, lined up for him, but you know, the immediate presentation, there wasn't really anything different about his presentation, etc., etc.
No, it wasn't very exciting, was it? It wasn't, you know, the segment itself was very just kind of cookie cutter, I thought, which was a shame because the reason we say all this is we both know he can be a lot more than cookie cutter. He can be quite creative as a personality and as a promo. None of that shine through here. Maybe we'll see it via pre-tapes in the coming weeks. I doubt it, but like, either way, he's a nice guy to have on the show. I enjoyed seeing him wrestle, even if he let Miz, you know, if Miz kicked the shit out of him for 90% of their match. It's still nice to see him wrestle. So anyway.
Yeah, he's nice to see him wrestle, and you know, he's been off for a minute now, and he doesn't look like he's missed a step. I know he's been uploading videos of himself training on Twitter and stuff like that, but you never know how someone's gonna, you know, people, even the best jump in there and can look a little bit rusty if they've been off for, you know, a few months or so. And Ali looked smooth, quick, everything. He didn't miss a beat, so that was also good to see. But like you said, it would have been nice if he got quite a substantial bit more shine in that match. But you know, so next we had Rhea Ripley interview, which I think for people like me and you who don't want her in Judgment Day, the promo it might be selling us a bit of a dream here. Because Rhea's promo was basically, she was asked why she turned and attacked Leaf last week, and she said, basically, I'm better off on my own. And basically, ever since I've been in tag teams, shit ain't been working out for me. Then she's immediately cut off by Liv Morgan, who jumps in and attacks her, and they kind of have a little brawl end of segment. But like I said, Rhea did say that, you know, she was like, I'm a single star, I'm on my own. That's when I have the most success. Well, fingers crossed.
There's just one problem with that. Just a slight problem, but I need to bring it up because we're friends and we need to confront this together. If that is the case, but Adam Edge, as our friend Bob calls him, still wants a women's wrestler in this group, my problems move in a different direction.
You froze on me? That
Am I
was
back?
Mustafa.
Am I back? Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. You're back.
The law got me. The law got
Yeah,
me.
that's good.
Jay Shell has dunked on me many times. I'm not going to say the name, but there is a different direction they could go with women's wrestler in this group that I would rather they not. I would instead, my suggestion is end the group forever. But you are right, this was encouraging. Also, the brawl did rule. All bits aside, the brawl was...
Yes.
They said, how long have we got? 15 seconds? We're going to kick the shit out of each other. Pump my fist, very excited. I think the match will actually be really cool when they get to have it. You know, I wish they'd have got a slightly longer segment, but like, it was okay. And you're right. That is a positive. Rhea appears feasible. She'll stand on her own, which is a good thing. So there you go.
Hopefully, like you said, they pack the bags with this whole Judgment Day stuff.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I know people always criticize WWE for not giving us connective tissue and stuff like that. But if Edge just came out to his normal music next week, I'd be on my feet. So yeah, man, it's tough. Like I said, I don't want to go over it too much because I'll just get mad and heated and sound like an insane person.
Fair.
So yeah, next up was Backstage with Alpha Academy, Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, and the Usos. Owens is just chatting away with the Alpha Academy. Then Rollins interrupts to talk to Owens about the match later tonight. But Owens kind of brings up how Seth Rollins called him a fat ass last week, and he reminds Rollins that Kevin Owens is a better friend to him than what Rollins is to Owens. And Rollins just attempts to brush it off and laugh it off as he does. And the Usos enter the screen and say, let's get it together. They want to win. They don't want to piss off the tribal chief, which Rollins then laughs off again. There weren't really too much to this segment, but I feel like everyone played the part pretty well in it.
Seth Rollins is a very funny guy.
They're all pros though, so it's not really a surprise to anyone.
You know what I like when Seth does that laugh. Do you? Do you like when he does that?
I mean, it's something. It's something. Right, so this is something I wanted to bring up, and I feel like it's maybe a little bit of a tired subject, but before WWE TV main events, the way they pace getting there is so fucking weird, man. So to give an example, this is what happened last night. Cody made his entrance, break. Highlights of earlier in the show with Omos and Bobby Lashley. Backstage with Omos and MVP. All this is going on while Cody's just in the ring doing whatever, probably loving the crowd. Then we get a backstage segment with Omos and MVP and the schedule a match. Then there's another break. Then we come back and the match has already started. So it's like, no, there's the rest of the entrances. There's another break, and we come back, and the match has already started. And Ezekiel has Jimmy Uso in a headlock. It's really weird, man. It's really weird. Like, I don't get it, man. But of course, like that's the next segment anyway. The 8-man tag match.
Do you think that the what pro? No, that's a news update, folks. I've learned this now. It's incredible. The concentration of our fearless leader here. Do you think what happens here is they're concerned about how much adrenaline is in Cody's soul, and they like to give it some time to kind of wear away before they let others wrestle him? I mean, he's proper fired up, isn't it? Yeah,
he loves it, man. He does love it. Like all jokes aside, it is nice to see. Like I know a lot of people aren't. Some people are like, oh, he betrayed AEW, blah blah blah. I just want to say, but for me, like I've loved everything he's done. So like, just seeing him in WWE, it's just nice to see him and kind of getting a feel that he's really enjoying it and just kind of. He's always embracing the crowd so much. But of course, he's done that in AEW too with the crowd and just, loving it. But it's, like I said, it's nice to see that audience embracing him the way that they do.
But, imagine you were standing behind the curtain. You were about to go and fight the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. And, he goes out there and he's got the pyro and he's giving it, he's doing the thing he does. When he starts doing all this shit and he's...
Yeah.
You would probably say, play that Omos pre-tape. You know what I mean? Give me a few minutes here. You let him calm down a little bit out there. I mean, I think that's what happened. I'm not an expert. You could argue that they do this every week, but he's in the main event now every week moving forward. So
I
that's
like
my
that he got
theory.
2 full entrances in one show.
He gets man. He's
He
the top guy.
gets them in, man. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they are really presenting him like,
Yeah.
the raw top guy. To be honest, it's like even like tonight's show weren't really about him. And even still, like I said, he got 2 full entrances. And on like the 4 shows he's been on, he's had 2 full entrances on like 2 or 3 of them now. And it's like he's been on every one, of course. Some of the shows have been literally built all around him. And yeah, man, like I said, it's just really nice to see him doing
now,
what he does.
The main event match that you alluded to,
Yes,
the 8-man tag.
Yes.
This was a blast, wasn't it? I mean, I know you're a famed Usos hater, but I enjoyed their part in this.
That's a bit harsh. That's a bit harsh.
Well,
harsh. You just
sometimes we'll have to lash out on these shows. I thought everyone was good here, genuinely. Like to me, they're very good at producing these. I think they do not do them. If you watch it through the lens of what you would expect from the same match in AEW, you probably will be disappointed by they don't go like full PWG, but they're very good at giving the audience enough. Yeah, they give them 4 RKOs. They had different people lead into each one, and the last one Jay jumped into.
Because of the night it was as well. Like the RKO was literally over even more than it normally was. He was getting stunner pops for RKOs.
It had party vibes. Great, it had party vibes, and that's cool. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, man, and there's a lot of. I feel like everyone played the part really well. Even Ezekiel, he only played a pretty minor role in the match, to be honest. But Ezekiel does this thing now where he'll do this thing where, say, if he hits a big move and he gets fired up, he'll get really fired up and he'll scream like, "Who wants to hear Zeke speak?" And it's incredible.
Dude, they're so weird. He sat home. How long did he sit at home, Elias? Seriously. I mean, months.
He's still at home, apparently. Yeah. Just a cheap joke out there.
But the idea that you can go from feeling like they have nothing for you to being in the all-star main event tag match is fucking awesome, isn't it? They don't know, man. He showed up as Ezekiel and Bruce was like, "Oh shit, we got a top guy in the building. He rules."
Yeah, he loves it, man.
Yeah. And he was pretty good here, you're right. Everyone was good here. It was fun.
Someone I always want to single out, well, not always, but someone I want to single out right now is Riddle. Yeah. He's so good in this role of playing, just playing up for the hot tag, pretty much. And he's just so good at getting the shit kicked out of him, basically, as a babyface. Then when he has his little moments of shine and gets his little bits of offense in, it always looks really good. He's always somewhat creative, etc., etc., etc. He always builds to the tags really well. Even though, of course, that's pretty easy when you've got Randy Orton on the apron and with how over he is at the moment. But just man, he's so good. Because he's in a tag team as well. I genuinely put him right up there in terms of in-ring workers in WWE. I think he's so good, especially at doing this, and he's adapted to this role so well. Then it's when he has the single matches on Raw, so that always hits. So when RK Bro was feuding with Omos and AJ, I remember that Riddle and AJ had a genuine banger that wouldn't have looked out of place on an AEW Dynamite or whatever. It was a genuine TV banger. So, and he's done that a few times in his single matches when he's had the opportunities to. He's, like I said, he's so good.
Their dynamic is very their dynamic is strong too. Like you and I talked earlier about how Randy kind of feels like a dad and he's got that human element. Riddle's a big part of that, right? Because he's the counterpart 100%. That kind of brings him down to earth. No, he's done really well. I'm intrigued by what his ceiling truly winds up being in WWE. I'm unsure, to be quite honest with you. I think this is a really good role for him. Whether how much higher he goes while maintaining his charm, I'm unsure of. But we'll probably find out because I assume him and Randy are going to feud eventually. I think there's hesitance because they're such a good act, but inevitably they'll do that, right? It feels like
It's so good though. Like
yeah, I get it. It's
it's
tough.
so perfect. There's such a perfect WWE tag team.
Yeah.
Because even if you give him 5 minutes, you can just let Riddle build to a hot tag, get Randy Orton in, boom, 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 easy. If you give him 20 minutes, they can do that, etc., etc., etc. It's an overact. It's very WWE. Like I said, it's very perfect for WWE.
Yeah.
I think that's obviously a lot of the hesitation for it because apparently it was literally only meant to be 3 weeks. Randy Orton turns on Riddle program. But of course, like it's so over. It's genuinely one of the most over things in WWE right now. So it's tough. Of course, Randy Orton. We all know what Randy Orton what this feud would probably look like.
Yeah.
I'm not really in a rush to see it, to be honest. Like I'm not,
I agree.
I'm not itching to see it, and to risk something this over, it's I understand the hesitation behind it, to be honest.
Yeah, I also think from a booking perspective, there's positives in having Randy in this slot because when Randy's a singles, you have to find stuff for him at every turn. He's kind of catered for in this team, right? Like you could always do a TV main event where he wrestles as singles. Or I think Bob said on Fed Dead last night about he could work Randy as a spin from this Usos stuff. You could do that, but while you have them as a team, you can always kind of have him. He has like a safety net when it comes to a WrestleMania season, as we just saw. He could be in the tag team. When he's a singles, I think it becomes he's difficult to book because he's like a 28-time champ, and you're trying to slot him in with all these different guys. So yeah, I think it works well for both them, him, and Riddle. So I agree with you. It will just be intriguing to see how much more patient they can be because they've been very patient thus far. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so it's piggybacking off the back of that, and where obviously my Riddle praise, which was borderline bootlicking, but we'll get there. Who would you say are the top 5 in-ring workers in WWE right now? Because I was trying to figure out whether or not I'd fit Riddle into that, and the names I came up with, because I didn't want to go with the obvious ones. Like I know a lot of people love Seth Rollins, a lot of people probably say Cody Rhodes, AJ Styles, etc., etc. But the 5 names I've got wrote down are Riddle, Rod Strong, Ilya, Gunther, Finn, Tyler Bate, EO, and Rey Mysterio. I think Rey Mysterio gets slept on a lot, man. Like if you give him the opportunity, he'll take his stem cell self out there and he'll give you what you need. Yeah, man.
No love for the boss.
I think if I had to narrow it down to 5. See, Sasha is one of the obvious ones that I'd put with like Seth Rollins. So, like, yes, I'd definitely put her in there, but it's tough.
I don't know. You broke up for me. That's
Sasha's an obvious one. Like I said, I tried to. How am I now?
Can you still hear me? You're breaking up a little bit, but I think I'm on a lag for you. That's all. It's fine. I can still hear you. It's just like there's a delay between back and forth. I think I don't have Riddle's top 5 on that list you just read. That list is strong, brother. I have to think about it. I don't know if you can hear me, but I'll fill dead air while you can't. Chat, give us your top 5. You hear me? Okay. I think it's just a delay. I don't know if Riddle's top 5 on that list you just read, but he belongs on it. But man, you kind of forget how good some of those guys are because they're hidden away,
Yeah, he's there's a lot of people who are hidden away. So it's like even Finn, it's like he don't really miss, but it's just like he don't really get the opportunities, does it? He doesn't really get much, if anything, So
yeah, that's the thing. How much do you go on form? Like, because if you go on form, poor Finn has fallen way out of the big ball now because he doesn't get any, as you said, he doesn't get a chance. So, but then it's hard to compare someone like with Ilya, who, it's a different thing altogether. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard. I would say Finn is better than Matt Riddle, but I completely understand if you would say, well, based on what we've seen on Raw, no. I'm kind of torn on it.
Yeah, it's tough. So how am I sounding on your side?
You sound fine. There is just a delay. The chat can
There's a
tell me.
delay between the video and the sound.
It seems like for a minute I was coming through late to you. You can hear me right now, right? So we're fine now, I believe. Yeah, we're fine. Before it was like I would say, and you would only hear me, 5 seconds later. So, okay, let's try and flesh this out now that you can hear me. Okay, who is your first?
Yes.
Who's your number one selection for best in-ring worker in WWE? Let's try and come up with our bold here. I'm intrigued because this is very hard, actually. I think at one point Volta was a lock. He is now Gunther. Things have changed slightly. I do not know if he's still that lock. What do we think?
I'm with you in that sense that it probably would have been Gunther. It's hard to really pick between the names that I've mentioned. It's Sasha's genuinely up there.
Yeah. She
Sasha,
might be my number one.
Gunther. Yeah, this is what I mean. It's actually when I'm looking at the names, it's like Rod Strong is genuinely in that top 5,
Yes.
I think. And it's like
he's definitely in the 5, yeah.
We barely see him these days.
Yeah.
It's but it would sound wild to be like, yeah, Rod Strong's the best in WWE.
Here's why I think it's Sasha. And this is not me doing a bit.
Ilya wouldn't be a bad choice.
No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't be at all. The reason I would lean Sasha is this. If she has a 6-minute TV match with Lacey Evans, she's going to have some creative ideas that make it worth my time. She's probably going to have some elements of creativity in there that pop me, that make it worth my time to watch that match. But I also trust her to give me a 20-minute pay-per-view main event. I do the same for Roddy Strong, but it's very different in that I have concerns about how much the audience would be into Roddy in that setting. I know they're into Sasha because she has all the charisma and the presence and the look and the brand and as much as we're talking about just in ring, it feels like you can't divorce that stuff totally, right? Like it matters. Like the fact that we both know they're that into Sasha, it feels like a fact.
Connection,
and that's what's connection's huge. That's why it's hard with some of these guys, like you said, Seth and stuff. It's like in some ways he's better in that front, but yeah, I'd say Sasha's a very fair number one. Ilya's good too, though. I don't disagree with you on that.
Ilya's a savage. Yeah, Ilya's a savage. Obviously, Finn's another one.
Yep.
It's tough. Like I said, it's tough to sing. It's so much easier to single it down to your top 5, top 10 than actually picking one out and being like their number one. Because before you had Danielson, Cesaro, etc. in the mix. Now it's just they're not looking for guys to have 40-minute in-ring bangers. So I guess it's not that they don't have a bad roster by any means. They have a brilliant roster.
It's just different. Yeah.
It's definitely different, especially when you look at it compared to the AEW roster. If we're looking at in-ring work,
I think
it's tough.
The deepest match catalogue. That's your guy. I know you love you some Tyler Bate. Yeah.
Tyler Bate, where is he?
I haven't seen him wrestle in years, brother. I don't know. I really don't.
Most people haven't, bro. Most people haven't.
That rules.
It's tough.
Roddy Strong has the best match catalogue, career-wise, of the guys you named. In WWE, though, I don't think he's had enough opportunity to do this, to get to that quite, because if you do WWE, it's hard. Like, I'm sure he has some, but I'm struggling for classics because he don't. Like, how many singles matches did Roddy have on takeovers? Like 5, not even 5, right? How many's had? He wrestled Andrade in a singles way back when. He wrestled Joe Gacy last year. God bless. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm really leaning Sasha Banks, legitimately. I'm not just doing it for Twitter grins either.
I think if we're going off resume within WWE, of course, like I said, I try to keep away from the cliches, but Rollins, like Rollins isn't particularly like my type of guy, but he over the years, especially a little while ago, he's got a strong resume of matches in WWE. I feel like even if he's not for you, you'd have a tough time trying to deny that.
No, yeah,
Same.
his output's good, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. It's safe. It's like when he was scheduled for the match against Cody at Mania, it was like you knew they weren't going to shit the bed. That was not going to happen. So he's obviously up there. EO's up there, I think. I saw a few people say Asuka's up there. Obviously, she came back last night, so people are very high on her at the moment. People are saying like Asuka's probably top 5. Yeah. Gunther's obviously a weird one. Gable,
it's tough. I don't know. I like the Gable shout in the chat because he's had very few opportunities to have like a classic singles match. I don't know if he's had any opportunity to have a classic single. He is really watchable though. Sheamus is good, yeah. He's kind of the thing with Sheamus is he's fair, but when you're comparing the tippy top guys, you end up you have to kind of pick guys apart a little bit, right? For comparison, you could argue he's a little too one note. Now you and I love that note because he just whacks guys, and God bless. But when you're comparing him to, I think that would probably pull him back a little bit. Gable has not got the resume because he hasn't had the opportunity, but every time I see him, he is entertaining and compelling, and his work looks good, and he's dynamic. Yeah, she might be. I don't know. It's very hard, especially because the brands are different. That's what makes it even more difficult, right? Bob Roode.
When I see Roode's just a pro, man.
It's different. He's like Randy Orton style.
Same with Dolph. Yeah. It's same with Dolph. Like Dolph, I'd probably say was a little better, maybe.
Yeah.
But they're just pros. You're gonna get what you get with them. You're gonna get
a lot of these guys, honestly. And this sounds like a criticism of their product, but it's like what you said. They're just different. They're looking to do different things. A lot of these guys people would be shocked at how great they are if they're outside of that system, And same with the women. Like if you saw an Asuka, wrestling in a less restrained environment, I think people would probably grasp how great she is better than they do when she wrestles a 4-minute TV match, like with Dana Brooke or whoever, Like now, to be clear, very, very clear about this. Like that ain't me saying that other companies book their women's division better because that debate is happening elsewhere, and I don't believe that. I just think sometimes we take the WWE guys for granted because they're not trying to have classics, as you kind of explained. They're trying to just basically their matches are like a lot of the time they're plot points, and that's fine, but it limits your output as like a match of the year candidate. It is what it is. It's tough.
100%. It's tough. It's obviously tough to even rank them because it's not what they're going for. Obviously, one of the big things that's come up in the news recently was Becky Lynch's comments about the AEW women's division. You might as well bring it up now because it kind of piggybacks off your point. So what Becky Lynch said was, I'll get it up right now. It should be on our site.
Okay.
Basically, she said that the AEW women's division doesn't match up to the WWE's one. So the exact quote was, I don't think that they are presented the way we are. They don't get as much time as we get, and frankly, they're not as good as we are. That is the tweet, that is the quote that has got Twitter jumping up and down today. I don't really think it's that crazy. I've said it before we came on the live. Like, I don't really think it's that crazy of a quote to come out with. Like WWE's women does get that extra bit of attention, and it is put on a higher pedestal than it is in AEW. So, she didn't say anything crazy slander, I don't think. And of course, it was also noted that like Becky Lynch is always in character in these interviews.
Yeah.
So it's like, how much of it do we really want? Some people are getting mad about it. It's like, come on, bro. Like, relax.
Yeah.
It's like I said, it's nothing that crazy.
There's two ways. So first thing's about what she said, right? And it's like, I think at least a portion of it is kind of the objective truth. Like, I just think it is. I mean, you can neither of us saying their division is maximized or booked perfectly because it isn't. I think we both agree on that. But generally speaking, the women make up a larger percentage of their television shows than AEW's. Generally speaking, they are more central than the AEW women. And again, that does not mean it's perfect. Does not even mean it's good. But like comparing match times doesn't really tell the story, does it? Because as we just explained for the last 20 minutes, they don't care about that. Like it's different. And I think she's right. Now, the one that's kind of subjective is the talent one. I personally, and you know this, so no point in me pretending otherwise. I personally think there's a lot of truth to what she said. I really do. I personally think, as overall acts, I think the top women in WWE are generally, there are a couple of outliers, but I think generally they are, personally, I think they're a cut above. I think if we both sat here and picked our, fantasy roster, I think we'd very much fear WWE centric for the first 5 picks on the women's side. I really do. So that's just me. So, I will say part of that's booking, which is important to note. But that's my read on what she said. But the big thing, and as you kind of, laid out there, why she said it, it's like, well, if she's in character, out of character, at worst, she's just, talking shit and putting her company over. And I can't imagine getting mad.
Yeah, exactly.
I just,
yeah,
I get it, but like, it's so harmless ultimately. I mean, even if you vehemently disagree with it, which I think is a stretch personally, but if you do, you do. I can't imagine being like actively insulted by her saying as innocuous as, yeah, our division's the best one. I don't know, man. I think it's
people do it with Rollins as well.
Yeah, yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like I don't think she really said anything too wild. Like there isn't really too much to talk about regarding it, other than she kind of has a point.
Yeah.
Because like the AEW women division, it's been a topic for a while now, where we've talked about presentation, how they compare to the men, how they're featured, etc., etc. People like to do the stopwatch stuff. I think that's a bit boring, but it's just like even if you erase all of that, it's just it's just like I said, it doesn't feel like it's anywhere near on the same level as the men. Like I said, I think that part of the quote was very fair to say. Then of course her saying that the talent's better. And she's obviously going to say that because it's her friends at the end of the day. Like, I'm sure she's got friends in AEW as well, but, you're going to put over your people. Of course you are. Like, I'm going to say WrestlePurists is better than X, Y, and Z. Like, of course I am, because it's me and my people. It's just, it's what people do. And, the AEW women's division as well, it's kind of like, the gap doesn't need to be as big as it is, in my opinion, because I think it's a fair size. I don't think it's absolutely humongous or anything, but it's a fair size. And if AEW were to add women, like I think I've done this on nearly every podcast so far on this channel, but if I brought in Athena, that Athena immediately slots in as like a top 3 worker in that division. Immediately
closes the gap. Yeah, absolutely.
And talent like that, and Taya, it doesn't look like they're bringing in Taya. There's Nixon Newell, she's out there somewhere. There is talent there for them to close the gap, is my point, basically.
Yeah, I agree. It's difficult, right? Because when you take the stance I just took, it's like the pushback is immediately like, well, I think that I think there's some really strong talent in AEW's division. Like, I like a lot of the women in AEW. I just think when you're talking about the tippy top end of it, like WWE is pretty strong, man. Especially like people forget too, the brand split waters their shit down. Like, if we just sat there and if we compiled their whole talent pool, like, their top end talent is pretty tough to beat. I don't mean any shame in it. But I agree with you that booking could make up the difference in some ways too. It's just, I don't know. I personally am all for wrestlers like kind of having fun with this stuff and beating their chest and saying that they're number one.
Course. I like it.
Yeah, it's fun. It's harmless. I think I think it's hilarious how much like of a conflict it becomes, because it really is as silly as we just kind of laid out. It's like, she said her division's the best one. The end. I think it rules. She said it honestly. Really. I thought it was fun. Yeah.
I like the rivalry sort of thing between wrestlers. It's just that when obviously the fans take it and it becomes this toxic thing.
Yeah.
But like, when Rollins is out there saying, "Oh, this is the big leagues. This is where this is the best in the world," blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, you know what I mean. That's why you are going to say, and I'd expect, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, etc., them to all say the same. It's like we'll segue this into what I want to go into quickly before we end is FTR have commented again on WWE's interest. This time they were on the sessions with Renee Paquette. So I will get the quotes up now. And basically, the main takeaway from the quotes was that Dax Harwood mentioned that, he's been thinking, do WWE genuinely want us back, or do they just want us to stay away from AEW? Is that what they want? That has been the main talk people have been, have taken away from these comments. So I'll read it out.
Okay.
Where are we? I started thinking, do they want us or do they want AEW not to have... let me start again. I started to think, do they want us or do they want AEW not to have us? It's cool for Cody to do what he's done, but there are so many unknowns there. Will they ever focus on tag team wrestling like we've been able to for the last 2 years? Which is, I think it's a fair question for them in their position right now, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It's a question we all asked. I think,
like I said, it's very fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I think I mentioned it on Sunday. It's like 1 million.
Yeah.
Like, if I did offer them like 1 million a year each to keep them away from AEW, like it's not even really going to hurt WWE's finances that bad. So
no. Yeah, I don't know. I think a big factor in this is what they do over this next year and change, because there is a chance that FTR does so much before their contract expires that they actually feel like they've completed their legacy and they can cash out. And if so, God bless them, right? I mean, if they win the AEW titles back in a couple of months, they win the IWGP titles, maybe, dare I say, there could be a chance to come next July. Well. Yeah, there you go. And there could be a chance next July. Those $1 million contracts come out, and they said, well, we've probably completed this, right? So, I think it's hard to be dismissive of it, but it does rule. That's hilarious, by the way. It does rule that they had the same question we all did, which is like, well, do they actually want them? Or is this just, posturing and the team warfare shit? I kind of fear. I don't see why they'd be that desperate for them. But if they're going to pay you that amount of money, then, it's a tough choice, man. I mean, it's not pretend it isn't tough to turn down $1 million each to sit and do fucking 5-minute tag matches on main event or whatever. Like, God bless them. I don't think they're going to leave, but like, him being that honest about his mindset is incredible. That's hilarious.
One of the things that they have said over the past couple of days, and I know not every wrestler does this. Some do the exact opposite, but a lot of wrestlers do this, where they say it's not about the money for us, blah blah blah. It's about tag team wrestling, etc., etc. And that seems to be a point that Dax especially has tried to drill home lately. But these are wrestlers. Money, of course, matters. WWE offer anyone $1 million upwards to 7-figure contracts. They're going to think about it. Whether that's FTR or even somebody like Kenny Omega. If WWE came knocking on his door with a $3 million, $4 million a year contract, I'm sure you'd at least consider it. I'm not saying he would jump over or think he would jump over, but anyone, you'd be insane not to, at least.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And it's, I think it's worth reiterating that neither of us think they're leaving when the contracts are up, but like, it is a long way away. So they'd be even more nuts to dismiss it, right? Like, who knows where we'll be next summer? We do not know where AEW will be. We don't know where they'll be, where the tag division will be, so on and so forth. So it was interesting they kind of confronted it head on in the public like that. But it'll be interesting to see how this year plays out for them. It's a big one for them. It already is a big one for them, right? They've had a great year so far. If it continues as is, their value will continue to climb, and they're going to get paid well regardless of where they go. So it'll be very interesting. Yeah, that's a good point too about the TV deal, because
definitely
it's going to be
interesting.
Yeah,
interesting 18 months or so, because I think it's the negotiations. If it's just going off Meltzer's word. But I'm sure. I think it's public information. The length of that contract that they've got with TNT at the moment. But the expected negotiations are about to happen the end of this year, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So if we start to see, like I said, we've already started to see Tony Khan get a little bit more aggressive with the pen in recent months. A lot of people do think that's because he lost Cody, and there's a lot of matches he didn't get out of Cody, but he might put on, and he's like, well, these wrestlers don't last forever with us. That's always been a point I like to make. Pretty much before we started this podcast, was that like these wrestlers, they don't last forever. They're not going to be in your company forever. Some of them might, obviously I would never wish this on anyone. Some of them might get injured. Some of them might, some of them might leave for WWE. Some of them might just retire because they're bored. Like that's happened in the past, and it's just, and AEW's roster's so deep, like they're not going to run out of like these big matches. Of course, maybe I get you might want to hold off on CM Punk versus Omega. I understand that. In terms of it's not really as much of a complaint now because, like I said, he's been a lot more aggressive lately. But if that ramps up throughout the year because of these contract talks that are coming up, that would not be surprising whatsoever.
Yeah, I agree with you totally on across the board on that. I think it definitely has been a shift recently. He's been more aggressive. Like a good example is like Punk Penta is the perfect example. A match that was never going to be a pay-per-view match or need a storyline. Just give it to us. Like it's easy. And the big thing, and you referenced it, is like I think he was so scared of the hot-shotting criticism that he overcompensated. When you go as deep as that roster does, there ain't no such thing, really. Again, like, they did Danielson Omega on Dynamite, and, like, he didn't miss a beat. I mean, obviously it was Arthur Ashe, but it's still the same. It's the same kind of theory. You can throw matches out there. Obviously, I agree if you don't do maybe Punk Omega or whatever, but you can get crazy with that roster, man, because you've protected enough of them that you can just rotate, and that's the beauty of signing all those guys. There was a while there it felt like I was watching Brian Pillman Jr. wrestle on TV every week, and that doesn't nearly be happening ever, let alone on that roster. So he's been getting more aggressive, and that's been fun. And long may it continue. It'll be interesting if it kind of helps them on the ratings front. I don't think either of us are experts, but results have been mixed thus far. It'll be interesting. I assume it will continue as it is right now, which is as good as a fan at least. So there you go.
Yeah, like Tope Suicida just said in the chat. It's like it's good for the business. Good for the business, man. They, wrestlers going back and forth. They've got leverage in other places. They can negotiate different things, etc., etc., etc. Even for like just being able to do indie dates and stuff like that. Obviously, that's one of the things that AEW can use as leverage when trying to sign talent. You know what I mean? And just like wrestlers, one of the best things I think Shoot says it on Late Night Grin sometimes with you, but one of the best things Tony Khan's done is, even though he's got this stacked roster, he allows his talent to go out and pretty much do whatever they want. Of course, he's quite strict with not having them beat all the time, and he isn't just going to let CM Punk go on a Rev Pro show. Like, that's not going to happen. But it's nice to see, and like I said, like it's just all been good for the business, good for the wrestlers to have options, and it's interesting to see how the rest of the year, and especially with FTR, how that'll go. Because I liked your point where you brought up that like FTR, because now that we know that they've got probably like well over a year left on their contract with AEW, they could literally win the IWGP tag titles this year, go on and completely epic run, win the AEW tag team titles again, and feel like they've already established the legacy of the greatest tag team ever, which they want to achieve. And if they feel like they're at that point, they may want to just cash in and just go and coast at WWE for a few years or something. And how could you blame them? So
the idea would be, if they did that run we just kind of fantasy booked, the idea would be that they would have such a degree of cachet that even if they went back to WWE, my God, it happened again. The ice cream van is
my God, again.
It's
you noticed it before me. That's the worst thing. It should have. It's like, I should use it as awesome. The outro music or something.
It rules. If they have that run, they'll come back with such an aura to them that even if their usage isn't going to be like ideal, and it isn't like 25-minute matches on TV, there'll probably be just like another protected tag team. You know, it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
one extreme or the other. Like, I know they did some embarrassing shit with them before, but the belief would be that paying them the degree of money we're talking about, they would try not to do it. Now, do I have any faith of that? Not really, but I'm sure a Dax Harwood could convince himself of it, because the idea would be they would be coming back as the top team in wrestling history, you know? So that would that would be the belief. It'll be interesting. I think it's hilarious how much they're in the news right now, though. Bless them. FTR are rolling, bro. They're the hottest act in the game right now.
I just had to mute my mic because the ice cream van started again.
Yeah, it was louder the second
It
time.
happens.
It was louder the second time. It's hilarious.
Damn. Yeah, so like we said, it's just good. It's interesting to see where it will all go. Yeah, man. FTR, I don't think either of us think they'll probably actually end up going anywhere, but it's an interesting story, and we can see reasons for why they'd stay, why they'd leave. Well, potential stories anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, neither of us are dismissing it, let's be honest. I mean, I think people should learn their lesson regarding old code, man. You should never dismiss these things. Let it play out. That's what I say. Let it play out. Look at the ice cream van pops in the chat.
The funny thing for me with all this is that did they get ice cream vans over in the US? I'm not 100% convinced that they do, and if they don't,
really?
that's I mean, I don't
know.
Not just coming round the way that they do here. I don't think. Not just randomly. Come on, bro. It's 6:30 in the evening.
Do you know my read on that, Monty? My response to that is the United States has been fucking owned.
We have a fleet of them.
My God. There you go. It seems like it's a thing. Just it's probably less common. You're right. It is 6:30. That is kind of awesome.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. But yeah, I think we've covered everything. Obviously, we've done a Raw review. We spoke about Becky Lynch. We mentioned the FTR comments. Right, I'm getting out of here because the chat is attacking me for my ice cream takes.
Yeah.
Goddamn grinners. Do you have anything you want to plug?
LateNightGrin.com. We'll be doing a dark grin along tonight. The confirmed shoot and I. Bobby will not be there. Do not pay money expecting to see Bob. He will not be there. He is auditioning for Fox News. That was tough. I shouldn't have done that. This is too big a platform for those jokes, you know. But yes, we're watching Dark. There's always stuff going on. LateNightGrin.com will kind of catch you up on what's happening. But other than that, this was fun. I'm going to try to investigate my list of the best workers in WWE so we can explore that better. I was intrigued by your short list. I want to have a think about that. So we'll tackle that whenever I'm back.
Yeah,
on one of my other 12.
I was trying to keep it different. You know what I mean? Because it's too easy to just be like Sasha, Styles, Rollins. Do you know what I mean? It's too easy.
Yes. What we'll do is on one of our pods this week we will have like a criteria. We'll try. We'll try. All right.
All right. So if everyone can just give us a like, subscribe, comment if you wish. Visit us over at WrestlePurists.com, read a feature, catch up with the latest news in wrestling. Give us a follow at WrestlePurists on Twitter. And we'll see you soon, guys. Have a blessed day, everyone.